here, red turn player spawning, it's ForGG from Team Millennium, and his opponent is a blue Zerg player, Vortix from Spain, playing for Team Caronta Free Club. I think it was called something like this, his old Spanish team. So both of these players were extremely famous and accomplished back in those old days. Vortix actually continued playing on in How to the Swarm. He was still relevant, but he probably gained more fame during Wings of Liberty because he was the second best player in Europe during those times, in 2012. Later on he switched to play Blizzard's MOBA called Heroes of the Storm together with his brother Lucifron, and now he's still active as a pro player, but in a different game in Age of Empires 4. He's also very strong there. ForGG was not the best Terran player, not the best South Korean player, obviously, because there were so many great talents and great players like MVP, for example, and also Innovation. But ForGG was also relatively strong, I would say. He was playing mostly on European server in WCS Europe, and he would often finish in top 4 or something close. That was really strong, really versatile player, and just a great guy in general. So both of these players are somewhat equal in the skill level, I would say. Zerg players were slightly more dominant during Wings of Liberty, especially before How to the Swarm came out because of the balance issues with Broodlords and Infestors, but in this expansion everybody had to somewhat start from the scratch. It was not like a complete revamp as it happened with Legacy of the Void, because with Legacy of the Void the economy got changed and the game just became vastly different. But still, in How to the Swarm you had to learn a lot about how you should play this game and what should be done. So here on this map, it's called Newkirk District. It's a really large one with two Zelnaga towers in the middle and just a vast space here, just to use for drops and stuff like that, or mutas. And ForGG is going for a very greedy build order. He's going to get his first CC, so not the Rax, just being as greedy as he is. And Vortix is scouting with his drone, which is also something that's not really happening all the time, and something that was not also common in old days. And it's usually done to just check for the proxy rack, something like that, but you know, it's not the case on this map and not the case in this game. So Vortex just got some scouting, and his drone actually got trapped because there's a supply depot, and now he's not gonna be able to escape, but maybe he's gonna be able to get this one SCV. It's gonna be a nice kill for him, but not really a big deal, obviously, because he's also gonna be losing his one drone, but still, that's a nice exchange between two of them. The SCV is trying to escape somehow, maybe just going past this depot, but drone is still following it. Oh my god, it's gonna be really sad if it in the end just gonna die, but I guess no. Vortix just decides to save his own drone, so wise call, why not? And SCV is gonna return alive to its base as well. So that was a fun exchange. And in How to the Swarm, if you watch my previous video with players, I think it was Mana and Kyan, if I'm correct, that was also done in How to the Swarm. So this game was absolutely different because you had a different economy, you had 24 workers on each base, and that meant you just didn't have to expand that early, and you could have really stayed on two bases for quite a lot of time, for 10 minutes or something like that. And this changed the game quite a bit. I mean, if you're watching from Legacy of the Void, you're probably you just got used to playing with expanding every 3-4 minutes, and you just really enjoy those long macro games. But it was not the case in How to the Swarm, because How to the Swarm, Zerg race still had to expand quite a lot. You would normally take your third base around minute 6 or something like that. Don't really remember that well, but for other races it was completely possible, and it was really fun to play just on two bases, expand, go for like quick timing attacks. Protoss especially love their timing attacks with Blink Stalkers, Immortal Push and stuff like that. So it was a really nice aspect of gameplay. I think it's kind of lost nowadays when every race just has to expand almost, you know, every second, every couple of minutes, and StarCraft 2 just lost its touch with this different economy, because in previous versions you kind of understood that Zerg is a swarmy race. It has to gather more and more resources, while other races don't really need as much stuff, but they just need to be very careful with how they approach the fights, and they need to be extremely, you know, not really aggressive, but they just needed to put pressure all the time, you know. This was like the concept for the game throughout all the years before Legacy of the Void came out, and in Legacy of the Void I think things got just a bit more universal for all three races. So now we have a Nidus network. Actually, Vortix is not going for something standard. He's just deciding to kill ForGG as fast as he can. ForGG is also doing something, well, he's not really playing aggressive, he's probably going for a Hellbat push that was really popular during those times. So he's just making Hellions and also some Marines and the bunker in the front, but he just doesn't know anything about what Vortix has in his pocket. So this is a big problem for him right now. He's going to do the scouting, just 6 Hellions, and he can also try to actually go for the mineral line, by the way, because the roaches are going to be in the Nidus Swarm, and Nidus Swarm is here, but can ForGG actually see that? Yes, he can. He barely sees that with this tech lab, just on the verge of his screen. So now it's really important what he's going to be doing next, because he can just go to this main base or natural base and just try to get the mineral line, or just have to return back at home to defend here. This is a very, very big decision for him right now. He chooses to go back and try to defend here. SCVs are being pulled and there are so many roaches, but the target fire should be also really good for ForGG to be able to deal with that. And a nice kiting by Vortix. He's trying to get as many SCVs as he can, but I think he kind of realized that there's just so much stuff from Terran still, and the Hellions are arriving just in time to help this defense, and I think it's gonna work out for ForGG. The Red Terran is just doing really alright. Okay, some Marines are getting targeted as well, but I think he's still gonna be able to defend that, maybe just barely. There are more roaches coming though, so he needs to target that Nidus Swarm, but still, 5 more roaches, sorry, unload, and this is gonna be a problem, but still manages to hold. I think there's gonna be just barely enough Marines, but it all comes down to actually how many units ForGG lost during that battle, because, well, let's take a look at the worker count. 10 workers lost. Okay, it's not that bad actually, only 10 workers, but still the difference is gonna be, yeah, the difference is gonna be around 15 workers in total. So I mean, it's not really a disaster for him, but he's obviously a bit behind. Thanks for Muse. He can actually try to come back with that, because Muse, well, they're just really great, and they used to be great and they're still great in the current expansion, but obviously when you have such a different economy, when you just rely on 2 bases, it's also really, really good to utilize them. And Vortix is already expanding, but he's also trying to still do some pressure at the front this time. He's trying to unload here somewhere, but now there are medevacs, there is a bunker, and doesn't really feel like ForGG is actually going to be able to hold that. So now he should hear the scream of the Nidus Swarm, and now he should be really well aware of what's coming. And yeah, there's gonna be a big roach attack at the front, so he needs to prepare his defenses carefully. There are so many SCVs pulled, but there are also a lot of roaches at the front line. He starts targeting this bunker, works out really well, but now feels like, alright, there are medevacs, there's nice target fire as well from the ForGG side, and yeah, still another attack repelled. So it feels like ForGG is finally getting hold in this game. So 15 workers lost again, 5 more SCVs went down, but I would say it's still fine. So as you can see, there are just 2 evolution chambers being added, so Vortix is really far behind on upgrades. Not that really, ForGG is also like not really advancing in that area, but still, you know, for a Terran player I think it's also super important, but again, for Zerg player, when you have nothing, when you have just pure roaches that they don't really scale well into the late game and also in the mid game, so you need to replace them with something else. Could be Infestors, could be Bailings, could be even Hydras that got buffed during this period of time. Hydras were absolutely useless in Wings of Liberty, especially in this matchup, but in Shadow Swarm they got somewhat viable, but still not really that strong. So here is going to be a big drop by ForGG. He's just going for the kill, but there is this single Overlord that spots the whole group, and it's going to be a problem for him right now. But is it going to be enough for Vortix? Does he have enough actually? So yeah, well, seems like a big pack of race, but Steam is not done yet. There are 10 seconds for Steam to actually get ready. Maybe he should have waited for this. I think it's a big mistake, to be honest, because he's now fighting with this roach without Steam. He's steaming right now, but I think a big part of the Marines were already gunned down by those roaches, so that's not really a perfect engagement for ForGG. I think he could have accomplished a lot more with this fight, but this was, I think, a bit too early for him to start this battle. It's really unfortunate, because I think he could have easily ended the game right here, right now, but actually I think he got a bit overextended. Should have just waited for the steam. And also he didn't target fire roaches this time. It's really important. Roaches, they have a nice armor. I think the armor is like around 1, yeah, but it's not really that big, right? But still, 1 armor is something that matters with such engagements. When you have a lot of Marines, you don't really care about that anymore, but when you have just a bunch of them, it's really important to target your opponent's units. So now there's another attempt to do another Doom drop, so 6 medvacs this time, a lot more army supply in these medvacs, and also siege tanks this time, so it's gonna be interesting. 3 siege tanks occupying those spots in the medvacs, and Vortix at the same time, he's going for the 4th base already, but also he's making some infestors, and he already has one, and the same Overlord just spots the whole drop once again. Oh my god, this is gonna be a disaster for ForGG if he's not gonna be playing that carefully, but the infestors are coming and the fungal growths are just perfect. Oh my god, this is just a total destruction, it's just a massacre here, and no way it happened. ForGG, you knew there is gonna be an Overlord, you knew this guy is gonna turn the tide once again, but he still decided to fly there, and Vortex immediately is making 14 drones. He's really confident in himself right now because he knows that nothing is gonna come at his gates soon, so he has a lot of time to rebuild, has a lot of time to expand, and immediately goes to the hive tech as well, so he's gonna have a nice advantage here. So for ForGG this was a complete disaster. Now he has to take the 3rd base. Well, luckily he was actually making the 3rd command center behind all of that, but still, this Overlord is just an MVP of that battle. He single-handedly saved and carried Vortex in that engagement, and also in the previous one. So for ForGG the game is gonna get a lot more difficult now. He also, if you just take a look at his map awareness, he doesn't really know anything about Vortex at all, so doesn't know about the existence of the 4th base, he doesn't also know about the 5th base, and obviously no intel about Hive as well, because, well, it kind of makes sense from ForGG's perspective, because he's trying to save all the energy for mules, not for scans or something else, because, well, he's behind, he needs to catch up in terms of the economy somehow, so that's his only way to do that actually. But at the same time, yeah, he needs some source of scouting, so this poor medevac is just going to fly in and see what's going on. He sees full economy, he sees links, maybe some upgrades. He just click on the units and see how it's going with Vortex, and he sees that there are +1 melee upgrades basically. Claws are getting improved for those Zerlings, so must understand that something is cooking right now. And well, it's not really like a big surprise for him, to be honest, because everybody plays Banelings and Links in ZVT, even nowadays. Well, yeah, you can play Lurkers sometimes, but Lurkers didn't really exist in Heart of the Swarm, so this was the only way to play, basically. And there is a big attack coming, and no Banelings, but there is going to be a lot of fungal growths, and also infested terrans are being thrown at the ForGG's defense, and those fungals are really sweet, but it looks like there's just so many medvacs and so much healing. It's going to be barely enough for ForGG to hold. Actually, a very nice engagement for him. It felt like Vortex was gonna able to actually break him, but no, it was just enough defense for ForGG, and also Marauders are coming just in time and sealing the deal for this Terran player. But the problem is still present. There's gonna be another attack very soon, and this time is gonna be a much better army for Vortex. He's gonna have some Broodlords as well in the mix, and this is gonna be a tough battle for ForGG because he also doesn't really know anything about that. He needs to make Vikings right now, or maybe even like Widow Mines, but Widow Mines, they used to be actually pretty cool in Heart of the Swarm. You could have actually tried to work with them against Broodlords if you just managed to burrow underneath them, but it's extremely difficult to do, so probably not the best case scenario for ForGG. You can also make Force as a decision, but you know, as a choice they were not as great because they were also buffed on Legacy of the Void. So basically, in those period of time, the only solution to Broodlords was playing with your Vikings, and that's it, basically. So this was a problem. This was a problem for Turn Race. So Turn Race was being like really heavy about pressuring in the mid game. So this was something that everybody tried to do. Bomber, especially ForGG and other Korean Terrans as well. And late games were maybe like not as common because of that issue. There were not so many tools to deal with this 200 supply Zerg army, because Infestors, they were still really cool, and they also had this Infested Terrans, and Funko Grow also did quite a lot of damage, and also, yeah, it was just stunning, and it lasted for 4 seconds. That's quite a lot, and yeah, that was a big problem. So the Broodlords are coming, and there's just nothing for ForGG to defend against that. Yes, he has also 200 supply, so he's not really that It's not like a small army, but still, it's not the same tech. And there are just so many broodlings and tanks are just trying to hold the front lines, but it doesn't really look like it's gonna be possible to do for ForGG. There's just so much stuff from Vortix side. Queens also marching, they can still transfuse those broodlords in case, you know, if it's even needed in this occasion, right? Because it doesn't just seem like ForGG is actually going to be able to come back from that attack. Another attempt to actually destroy the broodlords, but not going to happen because there's just not that much anti-air left in the army. There's just a couple of marines, and ForGG is still trying his best to fight in this battle, but I think it's a lost cause, to be honest. More marines are actually coming and almost targeting one broodlord, but it's just not enough, and the game ends. Vortix just claims his victory. For one moment in this match, it seemed like Vortix was actually gonna lose this game after, well, not a failed, but rather poor Nidus attack, but in the end, because of this failed Doom drop here, Vortix manages to claim this victory, and that's the end of our match. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Subscribe for more StarCraft content. Have a nice day, and see you next time.